Anonymous coaches dish on Garrett Nussmeier. You'll hear what they said next. Locked on LSU. Let's go.
You are Locked On LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked on LSU, your team every day. I'm your host, Matt Moscona. Thanks so much for making this your first listen. We are free, available wherever you get podcasts, of course, on YouTube as well. So please subscribe. As always, one of the fastest ways to help us grow is by leaving your comments below. So thank you so much for that. Shout out to our everydayers here on Locked On LSU. We got a ton to do, including with these coaches anonymously said about Garrett Nussmeier. Visit with Shea Dixon from On 3 The Bengal Tiger. Of course, disappointing that LSU misses out on Blaine Bradford's commit, the five-star safety. How do they get it back? Shea has some thoughts. We'll get into that. Did NIL play a factor? All that coming up. And LSU Baseball beats Louisiana Tech. We'll give you the thumbnail recap in case you missed it. Let's start, though, with this story. Hat tip to Adam Rittenberg from ESPN, who put it together. And very candidly, it's phrased as Rittenberg ranking the top 15 quarterbacks returning in college football for 2025. And I really don't care about his ranking. Now, respect to Adam Rittenberg. He's come on my radio show. I think he does a fantastic job. But your ranking or my ranking or his ranking, it's all arbitrary, and it really doesn't matter. What is interesting, however, is as he put together his sort of bullet points on each quarterback ranked, he had, for what it's worth, he had got Nussmeier ranked third best quarterback in the country. Drew Aller from Penn State 2, and Cade Klubnik from Clemson, number 1. He has the stats, why he's ranked where he is. But then Rittenberg has a section on each quarterback, what they're saying. And he gave coaches anonymity to dish on these players. Now, I always find that interesting because if you give someone the cloak of anonymity, they can be more honest. Now, they could also tell mistruths because they'll never be outed as lying if that's the case. But I tend to believe that these coaches in these situations understand how this circumstance works. They're going to be given anonymity. They'll speak honestly about these players. I always put more stock onto what coaches who are scouting against these players every day think. It's why, like a coach's all-conference team, I put more into that than the media all-conference team. What about the guys that are playing against them every week, scouting them? No, like they know better than all of us know. So a coach says something anonymously about Garrett Nussmeier, you have my attention. You're going to like this, by the way. So an SEC coach called Nussmeier, quote, an elite player, adding he's probably the conference's best returning quarterback. No disagreement from me there. Again, you're losing guys like Jackson Dart and Jalen Milroe, who are thought to be high draft picks. Garrett Nussmeier is the only returning 4,000-yard passer in all of college football. So, yes, very strong case to be made. Some might lobby for Lenora Sellers. Some might lobby for Arch Manning. But lack of experience from Arch, lack of accurate passing from Lenoris. I think DJ Lagway's got a long way to go. Nuss is a fifth-year player. I'll continue. Another SEC coach noted Nussmeier's passing yard total and said, quote, he's going to cause a lot of problems for teams. Yes, he is. And then finally, this is the one that came from an SEC defensive coordinator. Okay, sometimes I'll just say like a staffer. This is saying specifically an SEC defensive coordinator. Quote, he has really good pocket awareness. I wouldn't say he's an athlete in the pocket, but we thought he had good enough movement to extend the play to get it downfield. We thought his strength was his decision-making. How about that? Because if I were to ask you as an LSU fan, if you had one big criticism of Nussmeier, it's probably, well, he forces the ball into bad situations, poor decision-making leading to turnovers, right? It's you're up 10 against Texas A&M. He's rolling to his left, and instead of running out of bounds, he throws it back across his body, the middle of the field, throws a pick, and then all of a sudden A&M's in the end zone. They're back at the game. 100,000 people, 107,000 people have life again. But here's an SEC defensive coordinator saying, no, we thought his decision-making was his strength. Now, it's interesting, too. I have some supporting evidence I'm going to give you here in just a quick second. But Joe Sloan met with reporters a week ago during spring practice and was asked about Nussmeier's improvement now going into year 2. I thought this was an interesting complimenting piece, especially listen to the beginning of this soundbite.
Garrett was prepared to play, but then there are certain things that he needed to go through that you can only get preparation by playing. You can only get the experience by playing. This offseason has been able to be a little bit different because now he's going back, and when he's studying, he's not just studying his practice tape or maybe our tape and what could happen. He's looking at specifically some stuff that he needs to improve on. And I think he's been really intentional, whether it be something technical with a throw, whether it be the understanding of a defense, whether it be how we're playing, whether it be our footwork, all different kinds of things. And being able to really be intentional, take control of that, and make those corrections. And the big thing now is taking that to practice. And really, a lot of it he's been doing a great job with that. I couldn't be more proud of him.
I thought Joe Sloan said a lot in that soundbite. But most importantly, you can only get some of this experience by playing. Now, that may sound pretty obvious, but it makes sense when you actually think it out. Like, Garrett Nussmeier had been around LSU a long time, but until this year, he had never been on the road in front of 107,000 people, up 10 in the third quarter, rolling to his left and having to make a decision, do I run out of bounds or I throw across my body? He knows the answer now. Garrett Nussmeier, until this year, had never been in a situation where he had trailed the entire game and is facing a 4th down at home against top 10 Ole Miss to continue the game, and he throws a seam right down the middle to Aaron Anderson for a touchdown to put the game into overtime. He's done that now. Until this point, Garrett Nussmeier had never been on the road at South Carolina with a ferocious defense bearing down on him down in the fourth quarter where he had to rally. He's done that now. So all those things that Joe Sloan was saying, the experiences you can only get by playing, Garrett's now done. But here's the other part. Go back to what that defensive coordinator said. We thought his strength was his decision-making. Follow me here. I don't want to bore. I know numbers sometimes, if you're not looking at a chart or a graph, this confuses people. But I'm going to get to my point here. I don't want to confuse you. But I went and looked at Pro Football Focus. And again, I always talk about Pro Football Focus being a metric, not the metric. But this is different. Okay, this is objective data. This isn't a Pro Football Focus ranking or rating. This is objective data of Garrett Nussmeier under pressure, right? Because if we're talking about Nussmeier's decision-making, we're by and large thinking about his decision-making under duress. Whenever you're being pressured, are you gonna tuck it and run? Are you gonna take the sack? Are you gonna throw the ball away? Are you gonna force it into? Are you gonna take the easy check down? Are you gonna force it into harm's way? So, in 13 games this year, Garrett Nussmeier was pressured 153 times. Okay, and you don't need to memorize this, okay? But just follow me. 153 pressures. He threw it away 16 times. He was sacked 15 times. He scrambled just 12 times. And then they have a stat that they call a turnover-worthy play. Like the decision you made, was it a turnover, whether it resulted in a turnover or not, was it a turnover-worthy play? He did that 18 times, which doesn't mean it resulted in 18 turnovers. But that was 3.1% of his pressure snaps. So when Garrett Nussmeier was pressured, 3.1% of the time, he made a decision that was a turnover-worthy play. 97% of the time, he was great, made the right decision. But 3% of the time, made a bad decision. So how does that compare to someone else? Well, let's look at quite literally the greatest quarterback we've ever seen at LSU in Joe Burrow. Again, I'm not saying Nuss is Joe Burrow. I'm saying let's compare it to that standard, okay? 2019 Joe Burrow. 15 games, but pressured 188 times. Remember, Nuss was pressured 153. He threw it away. Burrow threw it away just 9 times. Never threw the ball away. Sacked 36 times. Extending plays, took sacks. Nuss was sacked only 15. Burrow scrambled 47 times. He was much more of a runner. Nuss scrambled just 12. That's something we all know, and even Sloan acknowledged they got to work on more. But how about this? The turnover-worthy plays. In 188 pressured snaps, Burrow had 11 turnover-worthy plays, 1.7%. Remember, Nussmeier in 3 fewer games was at 3.1%. Burrow in 2019, 1.7%. What about Joe Burrow in 2018? 140 pressured snaps, 17 throwaways, 36 sacks. Same number of sacks, by the way. He scrambled 28 times, so had 20 fewer scrambles. But his turnover-worthy plays were at 4%, 19 of them. So all that to say, Nussmeier in 2024 we know the passing yardage and the passing touchdowns and all that was better for Nuss in 24 than Burrow in 2018. But even the decision-making from Garrett Nussmeier was better under pressure in 24 than Burrow in 2018. I'm not saying that Nussmeier is going to have that type of parabolic run-up like Burrow did from 18 to 19. But it is reasonable to think, like Joe Sloan said, all the experience he can get by playing. Well, he's played now. He's got those experience. It's plausible to think he should be better. How much better? I don't know. I'm not saying it'll be 2019 Joe Burrow better, but even a marginally better Garrett Nussmeier in 2025, and you should be a college football playoff team. Fascinating to see a coach in the SEC effectively say, we thought his strength was his decision-making, and the numbers actually kind of back it up. Well, we got plenty more to talk about with LSU football as they finish through spring. Tigers do have the week off for spring break. They'll be back at it next week on the practice field. And while the coaching staff has the week off, recruiting never stops. And we know the Tigers got some bad news on Monday when five-star safety from Catholic High in Baton Rouge, Blaine Bradford, picked Ohio State, shocking the recruiting world. So what does LSU have to do to work on that flip? You'll hear from Shea Dixon next from On 3, the Bengal Tiger. It's Locked on LSU, your team every day. Get the supplies you need from the site for the skilled trades. Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free TradeMaster program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the TradeMaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's at supplyhouse.com. Certainly it was disappointing for LSU Monday of a holiday week with spring break to wake up and find out that Blaine Bradford, someone they've recruited for 3 years, kid from Baton Rouge at Catholic High, a five-star safety, one of the top prospects in the country at any position, had committed to Ohio State. Now, committing to Ohio State wasn't necessarily the surprise because that was one of his finalists. The timing certainly was, as Bradford, by his own admission, had just set his official visit dates for June and had said that he planned to commit over the summer and ultimately before his high school senior year. Well, I asked Shea Dixon, was this sort of a spur-of-the-moment decision by Bradford, who was in Columbus this past weekend on an unofficial visit?
I wouldn't say spur-of-the-moment emotional. Spur-of-the-moment emotional as much as it's probably included in a myriad of factors that, hey, look, and you get this. You've grown up here. You went to Catholic High. I think this is way more paramount with you high kids, but you grow up here, you're around LSU, you're around Baton Rouge your whole life, and then you go to another college town that you really like and we're really interested in the program, and certainly they have a pretty nice track record at DB, specifically safety, here in recent years. And I guess that pitch, in my opinion, opens the door for them. And let's be real, LSU is joined by Ohio State and Bama and Georgia, and these are the teams that every cycle are sitting right there in the top five. So this is elite competition, NIL era or not. I just think that a part of it, Matt, to get to what you're saying, I think is he got out of Baton Rouge for a weekend. He's been there before, but to really kind of get back, soak it in, get around some players and coaches and some of the other commits they have, I think that he thought, hey, look, if I'm going to do this, I might as well trust my gut, do it now, and there's 10 months till signing day. So even in his mind, if he says, hey, look, I don't know if this is ultimately exactly what I'm going to do, he's got a ton of time to shift things up.
So we'll see what LSU's approach to trying to get Bradford to flip will be. You'll hear from Shea on that in just a second, but something a lot of LSU fans have said is, oh, he's taking the money, it's NIL, it's this. Well, first of all, NIL is a factor in literally every recruiting decision in this day and age. LSU just landed DJ Thomas from UNLV over Kentucky and Florida, LSU basketball over Kentucky and Florida. How you think they got that done? I mean, everybody's paying players, but the bottom line is, of course, LSU is going to have a competitive NIL offer for Blaine Bradford. But I asked Shea point blank, was this an NIL decision?
I don't think that factored into this decision at all. I think that LSU and Ohio State can present. If you're sitting down and having very serious NIL discussions right now, which, look, you present all of those things, but when it comes crunch time, the discussions become very real. We saw it with Pickett and Underwood and all of these others where it was LSU's in the lead, and here comes reports of Oregon County and all of that. This is before officials even happened. I think this was just one of those things where both schools had made pitches over a period of time, and he was up there and enjoyed it once again, and has always said that Ohio State was the team that kind of perhaps was out front if there was, if he were to leave the state. And I think it's way more that than anything in NIL at this stage.
Again, like LSU is just coming off a portal cycle where they landed the number one portal class in the country. They did that because they spent a buttload of money. There's no other way to say it. Yes, of course, LSU has a competitive NIL and rev share offer for Blaine Bradford. This isn't just a binary thing that they offered more. There's more to it. So with that being the case, how does LSU approach trying to flip Blaine Bradford?
I don't think that it has to change much. And maybe you would say, well, it wasn't enough to get him. I don't know. Maybe it is in the long run. Go back and you know this, but for the viewers, he started at Catholic as a true freshman. He played a game of football for the Bears maybe before LSU offered, and that's the first college offer he ever tweeted about. He's a junior in high school, but that was 2.5 years ago. Ohio State offered him 9 months ago. This is the school that's right down the block. This is the school that has really prioritized him, again, since he was in 9th grade. We saw what the approach was with last year's safety cycle going into this one, where they knew they had Aiden Hall, who's a similar kind of big-bodied safety to Blaine, and then they went out and got a coverage safety in Dylan Purter just a week ago, a 4-star out of Alabama. So that final piece was Blaine, and right now he's on board with the Buckeyes. But again, long time till signing day, and this isn't specific to just Blaine. Now, being a Baton Rouge kid, I think works both ways. You could say you get into campus anytime you want, or you could counter it with the argument that maybe he does want to get away. But I think just as a Louise being a kid, if LSU's playing well, then it's all over the news, the radio, the paper, at school, everyone's talking about it. And let's be real, LSU has the number one recruiting class right now. Ohio State, I think, jumped to 6 or something. They're going to finish up there, but that's going to be a storyline if LSU maintains this kind of heater they've been on of if they're playing well on the field, they've got a top class. I wouldn't call it pressure, but all of those things, and then toss in not just being around family and then being able to go to your games, but his brother is on the team. He will be at games this year to watch his brothers. So I think there's a lot that goes into this that even Buckeyes fans would say, much like LSU fans would, if they got a kid from Columbus committed, that this is awesome, but a long way to go until signing.
Long way to go. Look, LSU had, I'll reference it, LSU had Bryce Underwood committed for nearly a year, and the school from 30 minutes down the road swooped in, dumped $12 million on his lap, and flipped him. I'm not telling you LSU is going to dump $12 million on Blaine Bradford. What I'm saying is you got a long way to go and a lot of ties that could pull at him over the next 10 months. So not a great feeling right now, but a long way to go. And if it does stick, I'll continue to remind you, it's way better for Blaine Bradford to land at Ohio State than at Texas or Alabama or anywhere else in the SEC. So as that develops, we'll certainly follow it right here, Locked on LSU, your team every day. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and you start building wealth. It also offers all-in-one convenience. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check finances, track spending, even plan long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
LSU scored a midweek win over Louisiana Tech 12-3, and the Tigers were pretty good all the way around. They got up 4-0 in the first inning, and they never really looked back after that, putting up that 4 spot. They'd had a single run in the second inning as well, a run in the 5th, a 4 spot in the 7th, 2 more in the 8th. The offensive onslaught came early and often, and the Louisiana Tech pitching staff was overmatched. Tigers put up 12 runs on 9 hits, but Tech also walked 7 LSU hitters and hit a couple of more. So, they walked 8 hitters and hit a couple of more. So they gave LSU 10 base runners, and then Tigers really swung the bat well. For Louisiana Tech, a couple of former Tigers returning to the box homered, which, while it wasn't obviously great at the moment, it was cool for those guys. Zeb Ruddle, Brody Drost, both homered in their return to the box. So congrats to them on a good individual moment. But really what we wanted to see out of LSU in this game were 2 things that we talked about. Wanted to see how they handled the pitching staff, and they did what we thought they would. They didn't throw Jaden Newt. Instead started William Schmidt. And Schmidt actually had a pretty good outing. He went 2 2/3, allowed 1 run on 3 hits. It was pretty obvious that when he went out for that 3rd inning after they had Maverick Rizzi warming in the second, it was pretty obvious when Schmidt went out there for the 3rd that if he allowed a base runner, he was coming out of the game. Well, he got the first 2, then walked the guy, and that ended his night. But all things considered, for William Schmidt, 2 2/3, 1 run, which was the solo homer to Zeb Ruddle, through just 51 pitches. And I'll tell you, the homer to Zeb Ruddle really tells the story of William Schmidt. He got down 2-0. He got down 2-0, fed him a fastball, and the kid crushed it to left field. That's a great indicator of when William Schmidt gets into trouble, why it happens. When he gets behind in counts, look, his 95, 96-mile-an-hour fastball with life is a special pitch, but when they know it's coming, good hitters, it's much easier to hit. Look, he got out of the first inning with a full count strikeout on a check swing, which was great to see of their cleanup hitter. It was Sebastian Mexico, the DH, that he got on the check swing. So a nice outing for William Schmidt, who needed some confidence. And we've talked a lot about LSU needing to develop arms out of the bullpen to complement what you have with Zach Cowan and Kason Evans. Well, I would submit that William Schmidt and Connor Ware need to be those guys. Now, Jaden Newt's thrown strikes, and the fact that he didn't throw in this ball game Tuesday night is a pretty good indicator that they want to have him healthy, fresh, ready to go for Thursday night's game against Oklahoma in case they need him. But Schmidt and Ware, from the right and left side respectively, are your best arm talents that you have. And so much of it is just going to be a matter of those guys getting more experience. For William Schmidt, feeling what it's like, listen, he could probably miss the plate to a high school hitter, and they would chase 95 on the outside because they're not used to seeing it. Good college hitters are going to be more disciplined, and they're going to take that pitch. And William Schmidt could probably throw 96 over the heart of the plate. High school hitters would swing and miss. But good college hitters, when they know what's coming, aren't going to miss that pitch. So much of that is just learning how to pitch at this level, and the more experience he gets, the better. Walks have been a big issue, we know, for this pitching staff throughout the course of the season, and the LSU pitchers walked 7 in this ball game. But for the most part, I thought they didn't hurt you. Schmidt just had the one walk, which was the last batter he faced. Cooper Williams came in, gave you 2 innings. He scattered the 2 walks that he had. Maverick Rizzi, DJ Primo, and Connor Benj didn't walk anybody. Benj faced just 1 hitter, got him out. It was Myers and Beck who kind of ran into those problems, each walking 2. Myers only got 1 out. It was the fly out to left. He faced 3 hitters. He walked 2 of them, got a fly out. Dalton Beck came in, walked a batter, was pretty good in the middle, struck out a couple, walked another batter, and then Chandler Dorsey came in and finished the game. So I know the walk numbers are alarming, but what I'll continue to say is, where are the walks coming from? Jacob Myers and Dalton Beck walking 4 guys in the late innings of a Tuesday night game and a blowout against Tech doesn't concern me. If you're walking 4 guys, if your starter, like let's say if Cade Anderson walks 4 guys in the first 3 innings against Oklahoma, that's concerning. But that's not happening. The guys that you're counting on, Anderson, Ianson, Shores, Evans, Cowan, hopefully Newt, Schmidt, Ware, hopefully those guys are the ones that you're counting on that aren't the ones walking people in leverage spots as well. So that's the thing kind of worth keeping an eye on. But what you're starting to see, I think, is Jay Johnson and Nate Yeski's plan and their vision starting to crystallize with who they see in what roles. And I think Schmidt and Connor Ware, along with Jaden Newt, are probably the next guys up out of the bullpen that they really like. And then you've got guys like Cooper Williams, who can be maybe a lefty-on-lefty situational guy. Maverick Rizzi, who can come in and get a strikeout against a right-hander if you need him. Connor Benj, who can throw 97 and be a situational pitcher. You're starting to see these roles develop from these guys. And then offensively, Derek Curiel continues his on-base streak. He's been on base in every game this season. Jared Jones blasted a homer in this ballgame, which was cool to see. But the story is Ethan Fry. He was 3 for 4 in the ballgame. He was a triple short of the cycle. His batting average is now up to .404. And maybe the most important statistic of all is not his .404 batting average. It's that he's hitting .350 in SEC play. Now, this was not an SEC game, but I'll remind you of Ethan Fry's past. He was good last year in non-conference games. He was good in midweek, but he hit sub 200 against SEC pitching. When he consistently went against SEC pitchers, he couldn't get on base. As a matter of fact, he struck out nearly a third of his at-bats. So it just wasn't justifiable having him in the game. Jay Johnson's always loved the ability, but it had to come around. Now, the .350 that he's hitting sounds great, but he only has 20 ABs in conference play so far. And you've played 2 of the worst teams in the league. Now, I'm not trying to poo-poo it or discount it, discredit it. I'm just pointing out the obvious to say, where you are offensively through 3 SEC weekends when 2 of them were against Missouri and Mississippi State, 2 of the worst teams in the league, isn't necessarily the most impressive thing. This week, when you go up to Norman, Oklahoma, this is going to be a much bigger challenge because you're facing a top 10 team in Oklahoma. And you know that on Thursday night, you're going to be facing Kyson Witherspoon, who's a right-hander, who D1 Baseball last week rated as the best pitcher in college baseball. I mean, we referenced this list because Pico Khan from Mississippi State was number 5 on that list. But it's Witherspoon, Cade Anderson, Jamie Arnold from Florida State, Liam Doyle from Tennessee, Pico Khan from Mississippi State. So number 1 on the list is a guy you're going to face on Thursday night against Cade Anderson. So a couple things to watch. He's a righty. Witherspoon's a righty. So is Fry in the lineup? Remember, the way Jays kind of handle this platoon is when LSU's faced a righty, you've seen Brown and left, Pearson DH, and Reeves at third base. You've got all the left-handed bats. When LSU's facing a lefty, he gets the right-handed bats in there. Braswell at third, Fry DHs, and then Pearson goes to left. Well, game 3 against Mississippi State, LSU faced a righty and Fry was in there at DH. On Tuesday night, while Louisiana Tech started a lefty, when they went to the bullpen and got the righty, Fry stayed in the game and he went 3 for 4. So that's definitely something we're seeing. Does Jay Johnson give Ethan Fry the start at DH against Witherspoon, who's a dominant righty? But if Ethan Fry goes out there and can hit Witherspoon, I don't know that you'll face a bigger test. So you still got Liam Doyle ahead, and you got some really good arms you're going to face. But if he can go show that he's not outmatched by a guy like Witherspoon on Thursday night, then all questions are answered about Fry's ability at this level against the best at this level. So something worth keeping an eye on. Tigers win 12-3, 5-game winning streak now, coming off the 2 losses to Texas, and we'll see if they can keep it rolling with the Tigers. Traveling on Wednesday, they'll play a 3-game series up in Norman Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and they might very well be dodging raindrops up there again, so buckle up for it. We'll be here for it on Locked on LSU. Hey, thanks so much for making us your first listen every single day. Now for your second listen, how about you go check out Locked on College Basketball? March is here, so be the most informed college basketball fan throughout the madness. You can find Locked on College Basketball on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Speaking of podcasts, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app, rate us, leave a review. If you're on YouTube, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video. And let a friend know if they love the Tigers. We got you every single day for Locked on LSU, your team every day.